welcome to Pen to Paper, my AuthorTube and BookTube channel. And this week we are going to be talking about writer's block. Have you ever dealt with writer's block before? I am almost 100% sure that if you have writing for a little bit, you've come to a blank page and realize you have no clue what to write. Unless maybe you're a plotter and you've outlined everything and you know what the next thing to write about is, and that's great for you. But for us pantsers, this might be a little bit more of a problem. So I do have quite a bit of experience with writer's block over the last several years that I've been writing. This is something that I have come across often enough that I have developed the skills to beat it and overcome it. Which I'm going to share with you guys today. I'm very excited because this is something that I find very important to writing. And I guess even plotters could use this as well. When they are actually plotting their story and they're not too sure what comes next, they could perhaps use these techniques as well to help them get to the next plot point that they want to put down. So, I am Leah Lindeman, author of the Canadian Reminiscence series. And today I am going to present the presentation of unlocking writer's block. This will be in a presentation style form with an actual slideshow. So I thought this would be a visual help for you to see what I'm talking about and how we can overcome writer's block together. So let's dive in. I'm super excited. I hope this helps you on your journey when you come to writer's block. So welcome to this recording of Unlocking Writer's Block. These are all tricks to help your writing flow. So let's take a look a little bit at the agenda that we're going to look at today. So number one, you need to train your mind to serve you. Your mind is the thing that is going to be your greatest weapon in overcoming writer's block. All right. Then we have outer stimulation to inspire you. A lot of people tend to go to this first, and I agree, it's a great help, but it is not your main weapon. It is a thing that sharpens your weapon. And then we have number three, right outside your comfort zone to produce surprising results. And this tends to be writing exercises that we'll take a look at, some that maybe might help you get out of your zone that you're stuck in and maybe get some creative juices flowing in a different direction. So part one, we're going to be talking about the mind. The myth of writer's block. And we all believe this myth at one point or another, but hopefully as we write more often and grow in our writer's experience, we realize that this is exactly what it is. It's myth. It is not real. Writer's block is the specter of death. We fear it will strike at any moment and kill our stroke of inspiration, what may seem like forever. So really not forever, because I'm sure for even most of us who seem to have had writer's block maybe for days or weeks or maybe even months, hopefully writing has come back to you in some way or another. Maybe it was through an experience or the tips and tricks that we'll talk about later that helped kicked you into high gear into writing again. But sometimes we feel that when it happens, we scramble and we're lost for quite a while. And then writer's block is a disease that can be treated with a cheap trick that cures all. And this is why I'm talking about how the outer stimulation and writing out of your comfort zone is not your main weapon. It is your mind. So it is not a disease that can be treated with just antibiotics. You do this and you'll get it back. Maybe, but maybe not. If you train your mind and weaponize it to defeat writer's block, then that will be your greatest asset. So let's take a look at the mindsets now that produce writer's block. And if we can get ourselves out of these mindsets into the right mindsets, which we'll look at in a little bit, this will help reduce the occurrence of writer's block in your writer's journey. So let's look at the first one. We have perfectionism, the fear of failure, the fear that what you're writing is no good, the fear that, and face it, when we first write, that is called a first draft. I hate to break it to you, but first drafts are a lot of the times garbage. You have a great idea in there or solid nuggets, but it needs a lot of work. You are not going to get it perfect the first try most of the time. And listen to me, there are always exceptions to what I'm saying, but most of the time your first draft sucks and it needs a lot of revision and a lot of rewriting. But when we actually write that down for the first time and we see that it is not perfect, we block ourselves from going on because we realize that it is not up to our own expectations or perhaps the expectations that our readers expect. Let's look at the second one. Purism, the fear of being a con, that what you're writing is not original enough, that what you're writing is, you feel like you're pulling from so many different sources and you feel that it doesn't have the angle, that special angle that makes your writing stand out. And then number 3, the mindset of narrow-mindedness, the fear of letting go. You're trying so hard to get that certain scene right or that certain character right or those words just perfect, and you're so focused and stuck on that one thing that you forget to look at the bigger picture that this is your first draft. And this goes a lot hand in hand with perfectionism. Also the picture of just your whole project and the theme of the book or the poem or the short story and what that's going to look like in the end as an end result. When you can't see that, when you're so focused on just the words in front of you, that can be very crippling as well. Let's take a look at how we can take each of these mindsets and turn them into something that's going to help us grow, that's going to help us defeat them and actually write words on the page that we're proud of. All right, so true growth. As I said, I touched on this. Number 1, blank pages mean first draft. It will always be flawed. You can always make a first draft better. For some of us, it may be more than others. Some of us may actually do a pretty decent job on a first draft, but even those people who do a decent job on first drafts need rewrites, need edits, still need people on the outside to look at their work and tell them, this needs to change. This could have been written better. This isn't so clear. All of us need that. So please do not expect your first draft to be perfect. You will not attain it. Let's look at the second one. There is nothing new under the sun. Writing is all about transplanting into new soil. Yes, that's right. You will never have a original idea. Who was it now? Let me take a look here. All right, so I found the TED Talk / book that might help you get over this idea that you will come up with something so brand new it's never been seen before. Everything has been seen before, but what makes your work stand out, what makes it special, is that it's coming from you and everybody is unique. You can offer something unique, even though it's a story that the trope has been told already, or, you have like novels that are Cinderella-like or Beauty and the Beast-like, or they have echoes of other stories. It's going to be different because you're writing it and you are unique. And hopefully you can find an angle, maybe not the whole story is original, but you can find an original angle that you thought of and nobody else has. And I want to direct your attention to Austin Kleon. He gave a TED Talk on stealing like an artist, and he also has a book out, I believe, on the subject. And I can put that down, the TED Talk and the link to the book below. But basically, he talks about how you take other people's work, and as I said, you're transplanting it into new soil. You take it and you make it your own. Now, obviously, I could see how if you're scared of plagiarizing, that this, it is a serious thing to think about. But as I said, take a timeless story like Beauty and the Beast and give it your own angle, give it your own spin, make it your own. And you can do the same thing with, the other works that you read around you. So go ahead and check out his link below. And then let's look at number 3. Remember I said that narrow-mindedness, you don't want to focus constantly on that one thing that you're trying to get right. Your single tangent, that one thing you're focusing on, is connected to the bigger picture. So instead of just focusing on that single thing, take a break. Think about the project that you're writing about. You know, I'm writing my 3rd standalone novel right now. I've also written 2 novellas. So this will be technically my 5th work that I'm writing on. And I constantly remind myself about the big picture, how I see the story going from the beginning to the middle to the end, and the theme of the story that I want to get across in my writing. And that gets me so excited that when I get stuck on a certain scene, I just pause, take a step back and look at the big picture and say, I'm so excited for this. And then sometimes that helps generate new scenes or new characters into my novel that weren't there before. And it just gives me the inspiration to keep going, to hit those maybe key points or certain scenes that I want to hit. Let's look at part 2. So that was all about the mind. If you can give yourself a growth mindset, if you can just work on that, just that would be my greatest takeaway. I want you to take that away the most out of this whole presentation, is the mindset. Remember, you are not going to get things perfect the first time. Remember the bigger picture and be enthusiastic about it. And you are going to be borrowing or stealing, like an artist, as Austin Kleon would say, from other people's work, but make it your own and give it an original angle. And with these, if you remember these mindsets and drill it into you daily as you are writing, then this will help you overcome writer's block. But now let's get to the points that will sharpen our sword of the mind and make it nice and sharp. And I highly recommend doing these on a regular basis so that all of these things are working together to give you a greater edge against writer's block. So let's look first at places based on your personality. Although you may set a place where you usually write, it may be interesting to see how a change will influence your writing. You may also have different spots that inspire certain writing outcomes. So for me personally, I write poetry outside. Like I come up with it in my head outside. So I'll go for a walk and the words just start coming to me. And so I'll memorize it literally in my walk and then come back home and write it down so I don't forget. So I do the actual writing in my house, but I come up with it outside. I don't think I've ever come up, maybe 2 poems. I don't come up with poems inside the house. Now, when I'm actually doing my novel writing, I'm either at my desk or on my couch and I'm writing. I'm typing away on my computer. That's how I do it. So you see, even I have different spots where I'm handling certain different writings. Look at point A, quiet or loud. Maybe you need quiet, no music, just silence. Or maybe, I do have 6 kids and usually I write when the younger 2 are sleeping, but my oldest 3 are still kind of running around a little bit, coming in and out of the house, playing outside, coming inside. So there is noise. For me, that's okay. But if you're the type of person who really can't work in that situation, then find a place and make the time where it is quiet for you. And you might need to try different things. Or maybe sometimes you can do it when you're quiet and sometimes you can do it when it's loud, and you just need to figure out when is the most productive and efficient for you. B, inside or out. I already talked about that. C, rigidity or comfort. So maybe you write better at your desk, or maybe you write better when you're sitting on your couch or typing in your bed. Find the spot that you feel the most productive, the most relaxed, or maybe you need that touch of professionalism, so you do it at your desk. And as I said, you need to try all these different things to figure out what works best for you. Let's look at people. Based on how you gain energy. Extrovert and introvert. Did you know that an introvert does not mean that you're shy? An introvert is someone who gains energy just by being by themselves. An extrovert is someone who gains energy by being with other people. So let's look at this. People are great sources of inspiration, and your characters are people unless they are an animal or an alien. But I think most of ours are people. And even when you go into fantasy and you have like fae characters, they have human-like qualities. So I highly suggest doing this, once in a while. If you are someone who is an introvert, but you feel like you need to hash out a certain scene or a character, I have heard of writers who are introverts, so they gain energy by being themselves. They wouldn't necessarily get anything by talking to someone real. So they pretend that they have an imaginary friend in front of them and they talk to them about their scene or their character. And just sometimes speaking it out loud will help them figure out how they want to set up certain scenes or people or characters or plot. But if you are someone who is an extrovert, you gain energy by being around other people, then get a friend to actually sit in front of you, or your spouse or someone you trust who is going to listen to what you have to say and then hopefully give you constructive criticism. I don't want to use the criticism here. Constructive advice on how, or just listening ear, and perhaps offer insight on how you can do it well. And then same thing with if you're in a crowd, people watching, perhaps, now I am an extrovert mostly. I do like to people watch, but I also like to gain inspiration by conversing with people, actually being at a party and talking to different people. And I get inspired by listening to their stories and just finding out who they are and what they do. So if you're an extrovert like me and you like to do that, that's great. Talk to real people. But if you feel like that would be too much, you just want to people watch, then go ahead and people watch. That is a great source of inspiration as well. And number 3, things to aid your momentum. So these are just tips and tricks that I've come across over my years of writing that I have researched that other people have used that have helped them in their writing. So play music that moves your emotions. So I have done this specifically when I have a certain scene that I'm ready to jump into and I kind of have an idea of how the emotions that are going to run through the scene. I find songs that coincide with that and I'll play it as I'm writing. And I feel it really just gives me that push I need to really pour everything out on paper. I'm a big, huge music person too. So this one works really well for me. And then letter B, create in a different medium. So art or even Legos. Let's touch on art. Maybe you like to sketch, or maybe you like one of those adult picture books or coloring books. That's what I mean. Then go ahead and do that for, here and there and everywhere. Maybe you like Legos, then go ahead and build something with your Legos. And then that will maybe help conjure up just doing something quiet with your mind, creative, but just in a different way that might help inspire you in your own writing. Also, C, remove distractions. So this kind of goes along with if you like it quiet, then find a spot that is not distracting. Also, if your phone is a distraction, turn off the phone. Or, even with your internet, if your internet is a distraction, then close all your tabs and make sure that no notifications can pop up on your computer and it's just your blank white page screen in front of you. D, put an actual pen to paper instead of typing. I tend to do this with my poems mostly. I love the raw, organic feel of a pen scratching it out on paper. I don't do it for my novels because that would get very tiring and very long, and I can type. I mean, I'm a pretty fast writer, but I think I type faster than I write. So, but you can try. Actually, I tend to do it for short stories as well. I don't do so many now, but if ever I do a short story, I tend to write it out with pencil or pen on paper. And I just love that raw, organic feeling of literally words pouring out from your pen to paper. See what I did there? It's my channel name, whatever. And then letter E, go for a walk. As I said, this is a huge inspiring, I truly get inspired when I walk to write poetry. Sometimes if I'm with my kids, then no, because I'm just, making sure my kids are okay and spending time with them. But sometimes I just need that alone time. And I've asked my husband to just look after the kids, and I go outside and go for a half an hour walk. And usually that's when I come back with a poem, when I'm walking alone. And then F, keep a notebook of thoughts, writing prompts you come across throughout your days, and you can read it for inspiration. I have not done this up until like earlier this year, and I was inspired to do this by Writing Down the Bones, which is written by Natalie Goldberg. And there it's a book that kind of spans her very small essays on writing tips and advice. And so that is the end of how you can use people, places, and things to help rejuvenate your creative juices. But as I said, the mind is key, and these things just help keep it sharpened and ready for the fight against writer's block. Let's look at 3. These are just some writing exercise ideas that you can use that maybe you thrive on writing exercises and that helps get your creative juices flowing. I tend to not do creative writing exercises too much. I know some people will do like 10 minutes of nonstop writing before their actual project. I tend to not do that because whatever writing I do have time for, like I don't have a lot of time for writing. I have 6 kids, so I feel it would be a waste of my time to do that writing exercise before my novel because I just want to dedicate all that time to my novel. Maybe I'm wrong in this. Are you in the same spot as I am? I don't know, what do you think about it? Anyways, let's keep going. These are just some exercises that you can try. I have done this with friends in the past, but write whatever comes to mind for 10 minutes without stopping. Again, this, even though you feel like whatever you're going to write is not that great, just do it anyways. This is actually very helpful just to get over your fear of the perfectionist mindset of just writing whatever comes to mind for 10 minutes straight, and it's not going to be perfect. So this is a good practical help to get that mindset flowing. So A, you can come up with a scenario and write about it, and it can be realistic or fantastical. B, you could pick a random word, pick one from the dictionary, and use it in the first sentence, and then your story flows from there. Or C, you could place a character in a happy, scary, or sad situations that you have lived through already. So that would be interesting to see, how maybe a different personality or character would deal with that situation compared to how you dealt with it. So those are some free range writing exercises that you can try. And then 2, pairing the unusual together. You can write a list of random nouns in one column, verbs in another column, adjectives in another column, and adverbs in another column. And you can pick one word from each category. So you could do that with a randomizer on the internet or a draw from a hat. And you write a 50 to 100 story or nonfiction work from those words. And I have done that as a writing exercise too. And it's just really neat to see how words you never thought would work together, you somehow can make them work. And again, it could be realistic or it could be fantastical. It could be fiction. It could be nonfiction. But it is a fun exercise to do. Remember, you win the battle in your mind. These tips and tricks, like the people, places, things, and the writing exercises keep you primed for the fight. And there you have it, the presentation of unlocking writer's block. Tell me, what are your experiences with writer's block? Have you used these tips and tricks to overcome it? Sound off in the comments below. I would love to hear anything that perhaps I may have skipped over or I may not have even put into my presentation that you found was very helpful. So I'd love to hear from you. If you like this video, please hit the like button, go ahead and ring the bell, subscribe if you are looking for more content like this. The first week of every month I put out a booktube video, so I speak about the books that I've read, I give my reviews on the books and the star ratings as well, and I have a very wide taste of variety, a wide variety. I have a varied taste in books, so I read almost everything. Except I haven't really gotten into graphic novels or manga yet, but
who knows, maybe I'll pick it up one day. And then for the 2-3 weeks after that, I put out AuthorTube videos, anything to do with writers, tips and tricks and advice. And then the last week or last 2 weeks, I'll maybe put out a book tag video and a writing vlog. So I look forward to seeing you next week. As I said, I hope that was helpful to you, and have a great week. Take care.